Croeso pawb to the November Savings PSN sale. And once again I've delved through the sale and I found some really cool games that are on a massive sale, so you can save yourself a lot of money and find some cool new games to play as well. So if you love playing games, finding cool new ones to play, and saving yourself a ton of money when buying them, then subscribe and you'll never miss a good deal again. You're welcome here anytime. Okay, this sale ends on the 18th of November, so that'll be our last day to pick up these deals. Let's look at the games. First up is a Fisherman's Tale Deluxe Edition. It was released in 2020, so it's only 2 years old, and it's on an 85% discount for the low price of £2.39, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a really great deal, especially for a good quality VR game. And this edition even includes the soundtrack and a PS4 theme as well, so you do get a little extra for your money, which is great. This is a VR puzzle game with move controller required, so if you don't have them you can't play it. In this 2019 VR Game of the Year winner, you play as a tiny fisherman puppet that receives a storm warning and now must make it to the top of the lighthouse by solving inventive mind-blowing puzzles and turn on the light to save the day. It looks like a really cool mind-bending puzzle game, and these things are always way better in VR, so if you've got a PSVR headset and you're a fan of puzzles, you'll probably really enjoy this, and it's won so many awards that you should at least look at it if you're interested. We have an action-adventure next, A Knight's Quest. It was released in 2019, so it's 3 years old, and it's on a 90% discount for the price of $1.99, which is really cheap. In this action-adventure, which is basically a Zelda ripoff, which no one could complain about I don't think, you get to play as Rusty, who accidentally starts at the end of the world, and now sets out to solve puzzles, fight enemies, defeat huge bosses, and platform his way to saving the world, while unlocking spirit abilities to master fire, ice, and time along the way. This game has mixed reviews, but it looks really good to me. Like I said, it's a Zelda ripoff in all aspects, which is great because there's not many games like that outside of a Nintendo console. It may not be as good as a Zelda game, but at this price, if you like those sorts of games, why not take a look at it? You might have a lot of fun, you never know. It looks pretty good to me. And if you've never played a game like this before, then again at this price, you might want to take a chance on it. Like I said, it's got mixed reviews, but you can't expect too much for this price, and it's got big shoes to fill. So if you're not expecting too much, you might have a lot of fun with this game. Why not take a look? Ancestors Legacy is our next game. It was released in 2019, so it's 3 years old, and is on at least an 80% discount for the price of $5.99 or $4.49 with PS Plus, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it for PS Plus members. So if you got PS Plus, you're getting a really good deal here. This is an RTS game where you take command of different armies as you get to storm through medieval Europe causing havoc and chaos everywhere. It features extensive campaigns, 4 playable nations, base management, resource management, and a cinematic battle camera as well, so you even get to look cool while you're doing your murdering and slaying. I'd never heard of this game before, and I really like RTSs, and there's not many on PlayStation at all, so this is great to see. This looks like a really good game, so if you're an RTS fan you should definitely check it out, and if you've never played an RTS before, then you might want to take a look at it, but at this price, you could find others cheaper, although your options are very limited, so you might just want to pick it up anyway. Either way, it looks great. Take a look at it if you're interested. We have an awesome VR zombie game next, Arizona Sunshine Deluxe Edition. It was released in 2017, so it's 5 years old, and it's on an 85% discount for the price of £5.54, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a really great price for such a really good VR game. And this edition even includes 2 DLC expansions, the soundtrack, a theme, and a content pack for the After the Fall game as well. So you do get the full experience of this game, and some extras for one of their other games along with it, which is pretty decent. This VR first-person shooter supports the Move controllers and an aim controller as well, which is amazing, as this game even has modes where you can play with the Move controllers for pistol play and that sort of thing, or a dedicated mode just for the aim controller, where it swaps out all of the pistols for rifles, which is amazing. More games should do that. If you own an aim controller, that should sell this game for you on its own. And if you don't have either, then you really should pick them up because that's what this game is designed for. You're really not making the most of VR without them. This game is set during a zombie apocalypse, where you finally hear other survivors over the radio, and now you must fight your way through the hordes of zombies to find your salvation. It features a co-op mode for the full game, and 4-player online multiplayer modes as well, which is fantastic. I wish more games would include co-op or multiplayer, and especially in VR, This is very unique and a really cool selling point if you've got a friend with VR who can play it with you. That would be amazing. I wish I had a friend who had this setup as well. So if you've got a PSVR unit and you're looking for a shooter and you're not bored of zombies, this is a really great one, a really good discount. I would highly recommend picking it up if you're interested. I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun with it. And hey, if you haven't played a VR FPS before and you own a PSVR headset, this is one of the best ones you can get. It was made from the ground up for VR, and it shows. It's a really good game with a lot of supported features and hardware. You can't ask for much more really. So if you're tempted, why not take a look at it? Up next we have Bastion. It was released in 2015, so it's 7 years old, and it's on an 80% discount for the price of £2.39, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a dirt cheap price for such a great game. In this game you control a kid as he explores floating fantasy worlds, fighting enemies in a desperate attempt to collect the shards to power the Bastion in the wake of an apocalyptic calamity, while a dynamic narrator describes your adventure. This game had rave reviews when it came out, and there's a good reason for that. It's an awesome game, with a really cool art style and a great narrator that's very unique and interesting as well. If you're a fan of top-down action RPGs, you'll really enjoy this game, so definitely check it out if you're a fan of the genre. And hey, if you've never played an action RPG like this before, then I would definitely recommend it. It's a great example of the genre, and it's a really cheap price, so definitely take a look at it if you're interested. You might find your new favourite genre. We have a VR FPS next, Farpoint. It was released in 2017, so it's 5 years old, and it's on a 50% discount for the price of £7.99, which is really good. Move controllers are not supported for this game, but you don't really need them, as it's more designed for the aim controller, which it supports fully, which is great. The aim controller is the best peripheral for FPS in VR. Why other VR headsets don't have an equivalent, I don't know, because it's amazing. In this game, after scientific research of an anomaly goes wrong, you end up marooned on a hostile alien planet, and your only hope is to stay alive while locating other survivors from the space station to help each other escape. It features online co-op and now includes a new online versus mode and 3 new maps. Although I doubt that's very active these days, but hey, it's there and it's free, so you can't complain. This is one of the big AAA games made by Sony for the PSVR, and it's a really good one. It's got a decent story, it's a proper first-person shooter. You can't ask for much more for VR really. If you've got a VR aim controller, and you like first-person shooters and sci-fi themes, you'll really enjoy this game. It's one of the must-plays for PSVR, so why not pick it up if you like the sound of that? And hey, if you've never played a VR first-person shooter before, this one's one of the best, especially for Sony. It was made by them for the PSVR, so you can't ask for much more really. Pretty much the only reason I'd say not to pick this up is if you don't like sci-fi games, or if you're really scared of bugs. There are some giant ones in this, think kinda like Starship Troopers, so if you can't handle that, you might not enjoy it at all. Or it might make you want it more, who knows? Either way, it's great. If you like the sound of it, definitely take a look at it. You can't go far wrong really. Felix the Reaper is our next game. It was released in 2019, so it's 3 years old, and is on a 90% discount for the low price of 89 pence, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and ridiculously cheap, especially for an indie game that looks this good. In this puzzle game you play as Felix, a grim reaper who enters the world of the living to try and impress the love of his life by manipulating shadows in order to move through the levels, solving puzzles along the way. And what's really cool is it features over 10 switchable soundtracks, which I've never seen before in games, and is an awesome feature. It has 10 completely separate soundtracks that you can switch between at whim, which is awesome. It's a really cool idea, and I wish more games would do it, although it probably cost them a lot, so I can see why they don't. This looks like a really cool puzzle game with a cool sense of humour, and some pretty good graphics as well. They're simple but effective, and the game's animations are full of charm. You can really tell the company that made this really cared and tried a lot to make a great game. So if you like puzzle games, you should definitely take a look at it, and if you've never played a puzzle game before, at this price, you might want to check it out too, because it's really cheap, and it's a great quality game as well. We have a racer next, NASCAR Heat 5 Ultimate Edition. It was released in 2021, so it's only a year old, and it's on a 65% discount for the price of £8.74, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a pretty good deal, as this edition includes all 7 of the 2020 DLC packs, including the Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart content with £16, so you get a ton of extra content in this version of the game for a pretty decent price. This racing game features the official teams, drivers and cars from all 3 NASCAR National Series, the Extreme Drift Tour, 39 racetracks, an immersive career mode, new race modes, local split screen, and 40-player online multiplayer as well. So you're getting a ton of features and a lot of content with this edition, and it's at a really good price as well, especially considering it's quite new, which is probably something to do with the fact it's a NASCAR game, which is a pretty niche market. But hey, if you're a fan of NASCAR, why complain? Just pick it up and enjoy it. You're getting a great deal. And if you've never played a NASCAR game before, then how much you'll enjoy it probably depends on how much you like NASCAR. So if you've never followed NASCAR, or you're not that interested in it, definitely don't pick up this game. But hey, if you're really interested, take a look. It's up to you if you want to take a chance or not. You never know, you might end up loving NASCAR. Our next game is One Piece Unlimited World Red Deluxe Edition. It was released in 2017, so it's 5 years old, and is on a 90% discount for the low price of £3.29, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it and a phenomenal deal, as this edition is remastered with over 50 DLCs included. So you're getting a massive game with a load of content included. It's a really great deal, well worth the money. In this action-adventure with an original story and characters created by Ichiro Oda, you take part in epic fights against famous bosses from the series, featuring a Battle Coliseum mode and all Straw Hat members are included. So it looks like a great game for fans of One Piece. And if you're not a fan of One Piece, then there's probably not a lot in this game for you. Unless you're a fan of anime, then you might like it anyway. In any case, this is the sort of game you'll know straight away if it's for you. And if it is, then definitely take a look at it and pick it up. It's a really good game at a decent price with a lot of content included. You can't really ask for much more. Ruiner is our next game. It was released in 2017, so it's 5 years old, and is on a 75% discount for the price of £3.19, which is really great. This is a twin-stick shooter set in 2091, where you are a wired psychopath who teams up with a secretive hacker friend to fight a corrupt system and rescue your brother. It features a large variety of weapons, gadgets and skills. This had rave reviews when it came out, and a lot of people loved it, and these days there's not a lot of twin-stick shooters made. If you've been looking for one, then this is a good one. You should definitely check it out. And if you've never played a twin-stick shooter before, this wouldn't be the worst game to start with. So why not take a look at it? We have a unique puzzle game next, Scribblenauts Mega Pack. It was released in 2018, so it's 4 years old, and is on an 84% discount for the low price of £3.99, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a really great deal for such a unique gameplay experience. And this edition even includes both the original game and the DC Superhero spin-off, so you're getting 2 full games for this really great price. You can't ask for much more really. This puzzle game is very unique, as it puts you in scenarios with a specific objective, where it's up to you to solve the puzzle by conjuring literally anything you want out of thin air. Is there a building on fire? Make it rain, or summon a fire engine, or a flood. There is no limit other than your imagination on how you solve these puzzles, and the spin-off is full of DC superheroes and hilarious situations for you to experience as well. I can't recommend these games highly enough. I played the original on DS and absolutely loved it. It's unique and it's awesome. If you like puzzle games or things that are a bit different, you definitely have to check this out. It's very different, but very cool and awesome as well. Check it out. You'll be doing yourself a favour, I promise. Next up is my star buy, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. It was released in 2019, so it's 3 years old, and it's on an 80% discount for the low price of £6.74, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a phenomenal deal for such a great game with a really good franchise as well. Disney may have ruined the movies and the TV shows, but the games are still going strong. Well, some of them anyway. Okay, it's just this one, but hey, at least we've got this right. Otherwise Star Wars would be completely dead, and that would be a crying shame. In this third-person action-adventure, you get to play in an epic story as an abandoned Padawan who must find a way to complete his training, develop new Force abilities, and master the lightsaber, all while staying one step ahead of the Empire. This game was beloved when it came out. After all the rubbish Star Wars games that have come out lately, this was a shining star amongst the rest. It's a really good game. It's like a cross between Uncharted and Dark Souls, which should excite you, because it's not as difficult as Dark Souls, but it's got a really good action-adventure story with some really good combat. So if you're a Star Wars fan or you like lightsabers, definitely check this game out. You'll love it, I promise. And hey, if you've never played a Star Wars game before, or a third-person action-adventure, then you'll really enjoy this game if you like Star Wars. And if you're not a fan of Star Wars, you'll probably really enjoy it anyway, but there are other options for you as well, so you could take a look if you're not sure. Like I said, it's my star buy, it's well worth checking out, definitely take a look at it. We have an RTS next, Stellaris Console Edition Deluxe Edition. It was released in 2019, so it's 3 years old, and it's on an 80% discount for the price of £9.99, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a really good deal, as this edition includes the first season pass, including the Planetoid Species Pack, the Leviathan Story Pack, and the Utopia expansion as well. So again, a lot of extra content for a really good price. In this game, you get to command the Galactic Empire as you explore the stars, constructing ships and stations, discovering races, and ancient treasures as well, making allies and enemies along the way. You'll even get to fight for control of the galaxy, if that's what you want anyway. I love RTS games, and they don't make a lot of sci-fi ones like this anymore. There used to be tons of them. Pax Imperium, Homeworld, Sins of a Solar Empire, Empire at War, Nexus of Jupiter, Galactic Civilizations. There were tons of them, and they were my favourite RTS genre. I loved them a lot, but these days they're kind of a dead genre. You barely ever see them. I mean, there's a new Galactic Civilizations, and a couple of others, but they're few and far between. Especially on PlayStation, there's barely any to play at all. And this is one of the best. So if you like RTS as much as I do, especially the space ones, you'll definitely want to check this out. If you like the list of games I listed, then you'll love this game. Definitely check it out. It's exciting for people that love this genre, it really is. And hey, if you've never played an RTS before, they're great. You can spend a ton of time on them, making them great value for money, especially if you like games where you get to think. Every game is different, and they're addictive. You always have that one more go sort of thing. And this is a really rare genre now, so if you want to try an RTS and you love space games, you should really check this out. You'll love it, I promise. And the final game I have for you is Zone of the Enders Second Runner Mars. It was released in 2018, so it's 4 years old, although it's much older than that really because it came out on PS2. And it's on an 80% discount for the price of £4.99, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a really great deal. Especially as this version is enhanced with 4K graphics and VR capabilities as well, so you can play the complete game in VR, which is brilliant value. If you've got a PSVR headset, you should definitely check this out. In this third-person action game, which is set in the year 2174, the Bahram military organization is using new mech technology, but luckily you find an orbital frame of yourself, known as Jehuti, and it just happens to be one of the 2 most powerful mechs ever made. And unluckily for you, that now means you're the only hope for the galaxy, as you get tied up in military affairs and a load of cool battles with a load of cool mechs. If you love anime, especially mech anime, you'll adore this game. That was one of my favourite genres when I was a kid. And when the PS2 launched, the first game of this series was a launch game, and it was one of the best games I ever played for the PS2. It was made by the legend himself, Hideo Kojima, and the quality just oozes through this series. I would say it's the pinnacle of mech anime games of the modern genre. You can't go wrong with this. If you love anime mech games, you owe it to yourself to look at this series. And especially if you've got a PSVR headset, you can play the whole game in VR from the cockpit of Jehuti. If that doesn't blow your mind, then I don't know what to say. Definitely check this out. It's well worth a play. And hey, if you've never played a mech action game before, this is the pinnacle as far as I'm concerned. So if you've ever been interested, definitely check this out. I'd say it's essential if you've got a PSVR headset. So unless you don't like anime games or mech action, then definitely take a look at it. I think you'll really enjoy it. And that's all the games I have for you for the November Savings PSN sale. What did you think of the games I picked? Did I pick good ones? Did I pick bad ones? And what about the star buy? Did it deserve it? Or should some other game have got it instead? Leave all your complaints down in the comments and we can talk about it later. Anyway, I hope you guys found some games you're interested in. But more importantly, I hope you saved a lot of money. I'll see you guys in the next sale. Au revoir.